Hi, everyone, and welcome to another powerful conversation with another powerful woman. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Jennie Holyoake today from Wellbalanced. Thank you for joining me, Jennie. I was really inspired when I started following you and seeing your posts on LinkedIn, and I'm really delighted that you decided to join me for a conversation today. I will hand over to you just to give yourself a brief introduction, because I know that you know yourself better than I do, and then we'll have a chat.
Brief introduction. Oh, there's not a lot to say. I'm Jennie. I run Wellbalanced, which is a bookkeeping practice. We've been doing that for 8 years now. Still not entirely sure how, but something's working.
And I love all your branding. That's one of the things that really sort of visually is very impactful, and also even the name of your company, Wellbalanced. It's a really cool play on words. Do you find that you attract clients that have that same sort of energy?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually had people who've said to me, I had one person say, "Well, you've got red hair. I'll hire you for that." I was like, "Great," but yeah, and I think it's I never set out to be sort of different or controversial or anything like that. I just kind of put my personality into it. And then when I rebranded, a friend of mine did all the branding for me. He's amazing. And obviously he's known me for a while, so he knew how zany it could be and how far he could push things. And he made it, and I went perfect. And that was it. There were no redrafts or anything like that. He
Wow.
just he just captured the kind of not trying to take it too seriously thing.
Yeah. Which I think is wonderful, because when you're sort of in, accounting, bookkeeping type space, it can fill a lot of people with fear, particularly if they're scared of numbers and things. And to have that sort of more down to earth but fun approach to it, I think it is really, really clever.
Yeah, well, thank you. But it's kind of it wasn't intended to be clever. It's just me. I don't like the thought. So many people come to me, and like my clients will phone me up for tax advice, because I'm actually a management accountant. I'm qualified as an accountant, but when I set up my business, I didn't want to do tax and compliance stuff. I just wanted to do the more useful things. My career was spent in big businesses using the numbers, not generating the numbers, not creating a tax return. It was giving managers and directors useful information from the numbers. So that's kind of where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I'm really nosy, so bookkeeping, you get to see everything. It's brilliant. But so many people will still phone me up, and they'll be like, "I want to buy a car. What's the best way to put it through the business? I want to, how's this going to affect my tax return if I do X, Y, Z?" And I'm like, "Your accountant needs to answer these questions." But it's obviously I'm the approachable one, and that's how I want it to be. All of my clients I have quite a personal relationship with, which is difficult to manage as we get bigger. And we take more people on. It's hard to maintain that, but that's something I'm really, really trying to keep hold of as we grow, because that's the most important part of it to me. It's the relationships, and it's knowing that I'm not just another cost. I'm on the team. I'm part of what happens in their business. If they were a bigger business, they'd have a finance department. Well, that's me until they get there. And that's what I like.
So when you started, what going sort of winding back the clock, maybe like 9-10 years, so before you started on your own journey, what made you make that move to work for yourself?
Kids. My hand was forced. I was facing redundancy at one of my companies, and it made me stop and think, do I want to do this? And it was always in my head, you could set up on your own. And there were lots of things stopping me. One of them was this expectation that I would have to be an accountant. I would have to be in a suit. I would have to be serious. People would have to And I'm not that person.
Yeah.
The reason I was so suited to my job when I was in industry was because I was working with non-finance people. That was my thing. I
Yeah.
was the numbers person, and I was paired to one or more non-finance people who needed to control budgets and manage them, and I was like their number geek.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't want to fit into someone else's bracket, and I didn't have the confidence in my own abilities, and I just said, I'll do it, I'll get another job. And then I had a baby. And there are very few, or there were, like 9 years ago now, there were very few senior finance roles that you could do part-time, that you could do from home. So I was looking at either going back to my job, which involved early mornings, travel down to London once or twice a month, late starts, like late finishes, and all that stuff, and putting my tiny baby into nursery at 9 months old, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, now is the time. Bless you. Now is the time to get on with it and to actually kind of stand up on my own. So I was just going to do a little bit of bookkeeping on the side, just to tide me over until the kids were old enough to go to school. Before I'd even launched it, I'd written like brand personas and stuff like that without even knowing it. It was just one of those things. I just got my head into it, and I was like, oh, this is how I would want the website to talk to me. And all the copy I wrote, I've had a lot of people say to me, it was like, you were talking to me. I'm like, okay, didn't realise that's what I was doing, but that's what I did. So yeah, it was never like this plan to have a business, to grow a business, to have employees. It was always just to give me the life I needed to look after my kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
there's so many women that find themselves in that situation. I mean, I think there are more options potentially today than there were when I had children as well. But I think it's tough though if you don't have it in you to have your own business, or you're not able to take that kind of risk. It's a really tricky situation to be in as a mum.
It is. I mean, I won't lie. We didn't make money from the beginning. I was supported in part by my husband, but mostly by benefits, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
It was difficult. It was really difficult, but the main focus was, and still is, to be there for my kids.
Yeah.
And when you hit so like a year after I started Wellbalanced, I had another baby. So somehow it's still going, and I've like run through 2 babies, and 4 years ago divorce as well. That was all interesting. But even now, when you get those days where you're just like, this is just too hard. This is just too hard. I'm too stressed. I don't know what to do. And I just imagine myself writing a CV and going for a job interview, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you on that one. So what do your children, because if they've grown up always seeing you have your own business, what do they think about the fact that you have your own business? Are they old enough to sort of notice, observe, compare? Yeah,
I think they understand that, like, I don't work for anybody else. The concept of clients is quite complicated for them, so they're like, but I say, well, that's my client. They pay me money for me to do work for them. And they were like, I didn't think you worked for anybody else. I'm like, well, I kind of do, but lots of other people rather than just one person. Like if you had a job, like, okay. But yeah, they recognise my branding. Like when it was Mother's Day, and Lexi had a keyring made with the little BA smiley face thing on it for me.
So sweet.
And they point it out when they see it. They'll see the words Wellbalanced and they'll say something about it. So they like it. They like the fact I've got this little office to work from, and they're proud of it.
Yeah.
And the same as I said to them the other day, I was like, I think I might grow my hair and dye it brown, and they just went, "Don't you dare!" And I was like, here's me thinking they're going to be like, oh, my mum's so embarrassing. They haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
With me being a bit different, and that's really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think my girls like it. That, I mean, obviously I don't have pink hair or red hair, but you know, I did contemplate having a purple streak put through it at one point, but they like it that I do something a little bit different from the other mums. And I think I'm quite open with. I think mine are a bit older than yours, but I'm quite open with them about the struggles I have sometimes, and when I have hard days, so they get kind of quite a rounded picture of what it's like to have your own business. I think that's really important and inspirational for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm the same with my kids. You know, I'll explain to them that, you know, things are a bit difficult at the moment because this happens and that happens, you know, in very basic terms. But I think when I was a kid, you got a job. You didn't work for yourself. People who worked for themselves were different. They were special kind of thing. They had some kind of unique traits that I didn't have, or that people like us didn't have. And my parents, I mean, I'm not saying my parents haven't been supportive, they really have, but it never really occurred to me until I was quite a way through my career that I could do this.
yeah,
That I could work for myself. And I think now there are a lot more of us doing it. And I think our kids are gonna be like, well, I could study, I could get a job, or I could start on my own. And there's that other path that's going to be even more accessible to them. But you know, they have to understand that it's not easy either.
yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I think I can't remember what the stats are because I don't keep those sorts of things in my head, but you know, most of the jobs that our children will end up doing just don't even exist today. But I kind of see that as a great opportunity, and that sort of kind of quite excites me, that you can take, you know, this thread of something you like here and that one there, and you can combine it all together into something that is very unique and that does light you up every day. And I think that's so important, especially when you know, mental health is a really big concern, and there's so much more awareness of the importance of getting balance in your life these days. So I find it really inspirational that I just love that creativity of opportunity that there is ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, they have fewer boundaries than us. You know, location is not a boundary anymore.
Yeah.
There are, you can work any hours, you can work from home, you can work at anywhere in the world in some jobs, and that's just incredible to think. I mean, I set my entire business up to work remotely just because I didn't want to have to commit to being in someone's office, because that would mean putting my kids in childcare, which was the entire point of starting the business up, that I wouldn't do that. And there've been times when I've been offered opportunities and gone, that'd be brilliant, and had to go, no, because that doesn't fit. And it's all about going back to that reason why and sticking with that.
Yeah.
But I think if I'd started like now rather than 10 years ago, well, not about 8 years ago, it would have been totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to think where the kids will be able to go with their careers. To think that, you know, if you'd gone 10 years back from when I started, it would have been really difficult to have a remote bookkeeping practice.
Yeah, exactly.
And so 10 years in the future, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it might not even be, it might be in the metaverse in the future. I mean, it's like there's anything is possible. It just seems conceptually not possible, but it probably is. Bookkeeping in the metaverse.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Hopefully I'll be retired by then.
Yeah. That's definitely probably keeps things simpler.
Yeah. That's the one thing my kids don't want to do, though. They don't want to take over Wellbalanced from me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we'll wait and see, though, because they've still got like absolute dream jobs at the moment. We'll see if they still follow that path.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a million things when I was a kid, and none of them ever came to pass. Funnily enough, I didn't grow up dreaming of being an accountant.
Yeah. I used to really enjoy maths and contemplated accountancy at one point, but no, I've done lots with data, but didn't ever end up going down that path. But
mine was an accident. I was at university and I was studying English and art, as you do.
Wow.
But I'd ended up living in halls unexpectedly. It was unplanned. My parents ended up relocating, so I was like, well, I've got to go into halls. and it really didn't suit me. I like quiet, and I like privacy, and I like space, and those are things you don't get living in halls. So I dropped out after the first year, and I needed to get a job, and the recruitment agencies went, "Oh, you've got a maths A level, we'll stick you in accounts." I'm like, "Right then." And I was lucky enough to have an employer that went, "Oh, we'll pay for you to do these exams." I was like, "All right then." And it just
Wow.
kind of went that way.
Yeah.
But it turns out it's something I'm really well suited to. I've got a bit of a different take on things. I've got the people skills that some people in my field don't have. There's a lot more cool and groovy accountants coming through now.
Yeah.
And then I've got the technical maths order brain that kind of lines things up. So it's a good combination.
Yeah. So hearing you talk there, if you did English and art, but then you also do accountancy, that feels to me like you are, as a person, are pretty well balanced in terms of like a creative and an analytical side. That because that's something I feel about myself, is that I need to have creative things in my life, but I also need to have structure and order. And I guess I get that comfort from numbers. And I kind of hear you say, it feels like you're probably a bit like that as well.
Yeah, I'm very attracted to creativity and creative people. I think it's because I'm a bit of a frustrated creative. I have, like, if you put me in a room and we're talking about, idea generation for something, if it sparks my interest, I'll be spewing out a million things. But what I find difficult is actually the execution of it. So I can play the guitar-ish.
Yeah.
I taught myself to play the guitar, but I'm not brilliant at it. It takes me a lot of effort and time. I can sketch okay, but I'm not a brilliant artist. It's like I want some kind of creative outlet for the ideas and what's in here, but I've never managed to find a way of letting it out. But a lot of my clients are either creative people or they're not necessarily in creative industries. I've got a few people who are in creative industries, but I've got people who have that creativity in what they do. So they might be doing something relatively ordinary, but they're breaking new ground in what they do. They're doing it slightly differently, or they're hopefully a bit like me, putting a different face out there and sort of changing the image of their profession. And that's really, really cool. I get a lot of energy from other creative people. I feed off that, like some kind of energy vampire.
Yeah, no, I completely hear you on that though. And I think it's, there's maybe just like the educational system is kind of geared towards being more structured and methodical in the way that you learn. But actually there's so much importance in creating things, what creativity is. And there's so much scope to creativity, and it doesn't have to be picking up a paintbrush or playing the clarinet to grade 8 or whatever. There can be so many definitions of creativity, and I think some people get overwhelmed by what creativity means. But I think we all need to have something creative in our lives just to give us that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if it's just like picking up a bit of cardboard and some pens and messing about with the kids, it's like it's nice to just be able to do things like that.
No, definitely. So what's been one of the biggest challenges that you've had in the 8 years of having your business, and how did you overcome it?
Time, and it's still a work in progress because I've been quite strict about when the kids are home, I don't work. When they need me, I'm there. And that's really hard. And the busier I get, the harder it is. I do starting to sort of get a handle on it. Literally this week, I've been working really hard on getting processes and things nailed down, because that's one of the problems when you're a small business and you want to grow. It's all here. Everything I need to know about every client, every process, every bit of work that needs to be done and when it needs to be done and all that sort of thing. It's all mainly here, and I need to get it out. Because I can't remember everything. And I think that's always going to be a work in progress. It's always, because I can get on top of it now, but then I'll take a new client on and that will be another squeeze on my time, and that's another thing I need to keep working with. But kids are getting a bit older now. They're going to have to start understanding that I will work when they're around.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for now, it's time, is and always will be time, I think.
Yeah. So what about top tips? Because I know the summer holidays are approaching. What's your top tip for a female business owner with youngish kids in the holidays?
Well, I say lucky, unlucky. I'm lucky as far as workload's concerned because my kids, I share the summer holidays with their dad. So I don't have to be there 100%.
Yeah.
But before that was a thing, it was a case of holiday clubs are really handy. My kids were begging me to go to holiday clubs. I had the guilt because I was like, I can't put them in holiday clubs. And they were like, can we go to Dragons? I was like, okay. So you're asking me to send you away. Got it. So, it's first of all finding out if they're cool with stuff like that, because that's something I totally overlooked.
Yeah.
But actually, they like that stuff. So,
Yeah.
but also just planning ahead and telling your clients. I remember when I first started out, someone said to me, no one cares if you're a mum. You're running a business. Keep kids out of it. And obviously, like I was quite early on. I was pregnant. I had a baby. I couldn't pretend that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So I told all my clients know exactly what situation I'm in. And now whenever I onboard somebody new, I'm like, look, these are the hours I work because I'm outside things with my kids. I will get back to you, but it'll be during these hours, and I'll probably, send you emails at weird times of the day.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. And everybody's on board with it and everybody understands it. So just communicate with your clients and be open.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is that when I first started thinking I had to be a certain way, I had to be a certain person to be an accountant, to be a bookkeeper, to be a business owner. But actually, the more I'm open, the more I'm myself, and the more I go, look, I've got kids, I have to work around them. This is the thing. Just tell people in advance when you're going to be away, what they can expect.
Yeah.
And one thing that was a game changer for me was get a VA.
Yeah.
Get somebody who can be there when you're not, in case there's something urgent, and then you don't have to worry about it because that something urgent comes in, they will message you and go, look, there's something urgent you need to deal with. So you're not having to check in on your emails and get distracted by all that stuff, and it takes you away from family time. That was really important, really a game changer for me.
Yeah, I hear you on that because I think on the first point you made about communication and just being really upfront and honest to start off with your clients about how things are like. And I know that when I had my first business as an interior designer, I was hopeless at that because, well, often you couldn't just put a project on hold, but also that setting expectations with clients I found it really, really difficult. But I think as I've got older and gained more confidence, like this is how it's going to be, makes it so much easier. And I definitely agree that having a VA is it's a pretty much a must-have, really, if you've got your own business and no holidays. You need somebody just to give you that peace of mind so you can detach and you're not constantly checking your phone, because otherwise you just never switch off.
Yeah, I do actually. It's taken a while to get here, but I do actually step away from the business for a while now.
Yeah.
It's all about just being realistic. And if you give people enough notice, they will stick to your boundaries.
Yeah.
And I think, boundaries in all areas of life. I've done a lot of learning over the last few years on that. But, people will respect it. If you say, these are my hours, and somebody calls you at 4 o'clock, they're just chancing. They know that you might not answer the phone.
Yeah.
So you don't have to answer the phone.
Yeah.
And it's, if you've got the right people, you've attracted the right clients, and you're working with people who get it, then they will respect your boundaries and they will understand when you say, I'm not here.
Yeah.
Because they do the same. This is the thing. I was always afraid of pushing people away by setting boundaries, because it's like, well, I've got to be available. I've got to be there. They're the customer, customer's always right and all that sort of thing. And I'm like, no, just manage expectations. They will take 2 weeks off and not get back to you.
Yes, exactly.
If they do it, it's all right for you to do it.
Exactly.
Everybody should be able to do it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So just to finish off, do you have a motto or something like that that you live by that you can share with us?
Oh, words of wisdom. I don't know. I'm never good at thinking of things like this. Do you know what? It's all about, for me, it's all about keep going. Just keep moving forward and say yes to things that frighten you.
Yeah.
That's the best things come out of the things that you're not expecting.
Yeah.
When I first started out, somebody gave me some really good advice, and he said, "Look, just weigh up every opportunity the same way, even if it's not in the original plan.
Yeah.
Don't say no until you've really properly considered it." And you know, the path is not linear; it goes all over the place.
Yeah, definitely.
And people might throw you a curveball every 5 minutes. You've just got to decide whether it's worth diving over to catch it or not. And a lot of the time, it is.
Yeah.
But don't be too rigid in your plans. Don't think you know everything and you know the way the future should be.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, that definitely is some words of wisdom there. Thank you. So if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way of doing that? Where can they find you?
I'm usually on LinkedIn, like all the time. It's Wellbalanced Jen on LinkedIn. Or my website is wellbalanceduk.com, or email me at hello@wellbalanceduk.com.
Brilliant. That's great. Well, thank you, Jennie. It's been absolutely wonderful to speak to you and to get all of your insights. And they really are inspirational. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for asking me.